Mom ambushed me with a question first thing this morning. Baby, what do you think of babysitting? I choked on my apple. I'm good. The smell of pancakes and detergent in the morning never failed to remind me that I was a disappointment. My girlfriend and I broke up, and so I moved back home. I wasn't quite sure when I started to rant. Somewhere between pouring my cereal, tapping on Imogene's Instagram profile, and seeing her latest post. But it was too late to stop now. Even if I did want to destroy my body to give you the grandchildren that I supposedly owe you, I'd rather not bring them into a world that doesn't give a crap about them. Mom's lips curved around the rim of her coffee mug and rolled her eyes. Sienna, sweetheart. She fixed me with a disappointed glare. It's a job. I wasn't asking for a lecture. Her gaze flicked to her phone screen. You don't need to like children. She held it up so that I could see. 3 5-year-olds, there's an option to sleep over, and she's offering $3.50 a kid. Well, that got my attention. Sure, I disliked kids, but not kids collectively. It depends on how they were raised. Take my little stepbrother, Rayleigh, for example. Insufferable iPad baby. Every time I visited my stepmom, there he sat, cross-legged on the floor, hypnotized by the screen while she played Mother of the Year. Which was ironic since SpongeBob was actually putting in all the work. He is now the devil incarnate. When I threatened to break his Switch because he wouldn't give it back, he burst into tears and told her that I tried to push him down the stairs. I haven't been invited back. But wait, $3.50 each. I feigned disinterest, stirring my cereal into a soupy mess. I was slightly intrigued, begrudgingly. My phone lit up with a notification. Imogene. I averted my gaze, my stomach twisting. That much per child. That was diabolical. Either the mom was like rich, or the kids were hell's offspring. Mom raised her eyebrow over her phone, sipping her coffee with one hand and scrolling with the other. She looked almost triumphant, a smile creeping onto her lips like babysitting 3 brats could single-handedly change my stance on motherhood. Oh, now you're interested. Mom handed me her phone and I took it hesitantly. There's the address. I saw a boy around your age already commented, so be quick. She leaned back. As for the lecture, sweetie, you know at some point you'll be expected to have children. Her words were like needle pricks in my spine. I ignored her, just like I did when I was a teenager, and I started scrolling through the comments. Sure enough, a recent college graduate named Sam with a degree in nursing and the typing style of an MLM victim. Hi, I'm Sam, had already attached his extensive resume. I disliked his comment, and remembering that I was on my mom's account, I panicked and undid it. The post itself was simple, from one Sunny Hawthorne whose profile picture was a horse. A working mama needs a night babysitter to look after my 3 beautiful angels. We'll pay extra if you can start tonight. 3 well-behaved 5-year-old darlings who you will immediately fall in love with. I tapped her profile. Private. You would think she'd be posting these beautiful darlings publicly. Sienna, Mom said. She had that tone again. Like when I hit 20 and she immediately started hinting that she wanted to be a grandmother one day. The emotional manipulation was exhausting, but she continued because living under her roof, my mom was entitled to constantly remind me of her wishes. Your body is a clock, remember that. I would love to have little Sienna running around my house. You don't get it, I like girls, I muttered, texting myself the address and all but tossing her phone at her. Mom drained her coffee. I'll pay for your IFE. I pointedly ignored that, jumping to my feet. Babysitting sounds more fun than this. Can I borrow the car? Another text from Imogene lit up my screen. I swiped it away. Mom didn't even look at me picking at her pancakes. Sitting there in her silk gown, completely financially stable, in a house that she was lucky to have, with her biggest problems being that her book club got canceled, or running late for her $200 manicure. Infuriating. Of course, she said, her attention already reclaimed by Facebook. By the way, Imogene called. Even when I was a kid, I never cried in front of Mom. I had a foolproof technique, pressing my knuckles into my eyes until the tears disappeared. Hiding it as an adult was harder. Imogene was the one who brought up having kids at 22, even though she knew how I felt. She said that we could make it work, and I wanted to believe her, but neither of us had stable jobs. We shared that opinion until one day my ex-girlfriend got brainwashed by my crazy mother and suddenly wanted a huge family. And I didn't. So that was that. My throat closed up, my eyes stinging, my chest aching. Suffocation wasn't an unfamiliar feeling, a hollow, agonizing something that I couldn't name twisting in my chest and bleeding into my stomach. Heartache, frustration, and the weight on my shoulders that wouldn't let me breathe. I ran out of the kitchen, pushing my knuckles into my eyes, and when that didn't work, I squeezed my nose until my silent sobs subsided. I left the house with a bitter taste in my mouth. Mom's words trailed after me, a stagnant stench of familiar disappointment in the air that I couldn't escape. You know she loves you, Sienna. I think the two of you should talk. Imogene is the smart one, remember? I was slowly coming to the realization that I no longer wanted my mom in my life. As if she had sprinkled her mom magic into my cereal, my opinion on motherhood shifted at the moment that I met the Hawthorne children, for maybe 2 seconds. The Hawthorne home was exactly what I had expected. Just one in a long line of picturesque white picket fence and nuclear family cookie cutters, straight out of the 1950s. I slipped on Mom's heels, tugged open the perfectly painted white gate, and clacked my way to the door. Taking a few deep breaths, I mentally rehearsed my greeting one last time. Hi, I'm Sienna. I adore children. I knocked, my heart beating out of my chest. Oh, come on in, a cheery voice called from inside. The door swung open and I was greeted by the blaring sound of what seemed to be a YouTube video playing at a deafening volume. I took an uncertain step over the threshold, nearly tripping over the boy who was frantically trying to make his great escape to the porch. For a moment, just a moment, my cynicism about motherhood shattered, and I was left wondering if maybe Mom was right. That motherly instinct she always talked about, what I thought was BS, was that what was coming over me? A sudden, almost feral urge to scoop up the little boy and swing him around. He was the cutest thing that I had ever seen. A curly mess of brunette tangles that I immediately wanted to ruffle. When I saw cute things, whether that was cats, baby animals, or miniature objects, I immediately had a baby voice on standby. He was no exception. Chubby cheeks, wide brown eyes, and the adorablest little scowl on his face as he blinked up at me. The kid's frantic eyes flashed behind me as he made a desperate attempt to crawl through my legs. I smiled down at him. Hello. I forced a big friendly smile, but the boy's eyes popped open, his nostrils flared. This kid looked pissed. Like ready to tantrum pissed. I understood why parents were so obsessed with keeping their kids close. The little ones really did try to toddle straight out the front door. On instinct, I bent down and lifted him into my arms. He yelped, squirming in my grip and battering me with his fists. Let go of me. I wasn't expecting this 5-year-old kid to look me directly in the eyes, his little face scrunched up, tears streaming down his cheeks. I was expecting some kind of fit, but this kid was really pissed. He swung his head around trying to tear out my arms, his little fingers reaching for the door. I said let go of me, he screamed, battering me with his fists. Let me go. I almost dropped him. Hey, I whispered, trying to calm him. I was surprised by my own soothing tone, but it seemed to anger him even more, sending him into hysterics. Your mommy invited me, I told him. It's okay. The kid's gaze snapped to me, and it was so fast, his head jerking almost inhumanly. A shiver slid down my spine. His eyes were narrowed and challenging. Is it? He spat in my face yet again, and I got a mouthful of saliva. I found myself speechless. Let me go, he squirmed, holding my gaze for way longer than necessary. His lip quirked. Let me go, or I start screaming. I debated putting him down. Was he actually threatening me right now? I knew 5-year-olds were growing up in a different generation to me, but I was pretty sure they weren't threatening their parents. Before I could try and bargain with this kid, because making him cry was not a good look, he burst into an uncontrollable fit, and I panicked, letting him hit me in the face. I see you've met Kazaria. A woman in her 40s with gaunt cheeks and hollow eyes greeted me with a tired smile. Sunny Hawthorne was pretty much exactly what I had expected. A wiry woman in her mid-40s in a sculpted floral dress with a strict blonde ponytail. She gently scooped up her screeching son out of my arms and set him down. Kazaria stopped crying. His gaze flashed to the front door and his mother let it swing shut. He shot me one last piercing glare before scurrying away. Kazaria is scared of new people, Sunny explained, her smile growing wider. I noticed that half of her teeth were missing. Oh, and look who else has come to see you, she laughed. Something hit me in the stomach and I jumped, looking down at a girl about the same age as Kazaria, with wild curls hanging in her eyes. I wasn't expecting to be brutally judged by a 5-year-old. Who are you? The little girl demanded, folding her arms. Her stance reminded me of my mom when she was irritated. Hand on hip, head slightly tilted. Her eyes shot to Mrs. Hawthorne, narrowing. Wow, this kid looked like she called the shots. You know my brothers don't like new people. She scowled at her mother before grabbing my bag that I had just plopped down. The girl shoved it into my chest hard enough to hurt, making me stumble back out of the door. You can go now. Melody Hawthorne, Sunny snapped, her expression twisting. I noticed the little girl flinch when she raised her voice, ducking her head. The woman shot me an apologetic look. You're old enough to know that that was rude. Say sorry to your babysitter. Melody wouldn't meet my gaze. She'll scare my brothers, she whispered, her voice choking up. I don't like her. She put way too much emphasis on like, which made me consider walking away. The way she shied away from me made me wonder if I looked scary. Was I too tall? There was no worse truth than a child's brutal honesty, and I wasn't exactly thrilled to look after this spoiled little brat anyway. Her mother, however, refused to let it go. I said, she said in a scary, commanding tone, and the girl ducked her head further. Apologize. Melody sniffled, glaring down at the floor, gripping the material of her dress. Sorry, she spat. Sunny planted her hands on her hips. I wondered if Melody was copying her mother. Chicken. Her tone was deliciously condescending. I was silently cheering her on. Look your babysitter in the eye and say that you're sorry. The little girl stamped her foot as if she was about to follow her brother's footsteps, but instead she met my gaze, her expression twitching, lips wobbling like it was physically painful for her. Her eyes surprised me, darker than I expected for a child, hollow like maybe her mother wasn't as nice as I thought. She was trembling, fingers curled into fists. The way she swiped at her tears and tried to blink them back reminded me of my younger self. I found my voice strangled and small like I was a kid again. "It's fine," I said, forcing a smile at Melody, effortlessly sliding into my baby voice. I knew that I was grimacing. I knew in some unspoken language between me and this little nightmare that Melody could tell that I wasn't playing games. Melody's glare might as well have been a knife splitting open my skull. So sharp, so unapologetic. "Really, it's okay," I insisted, lying through my teeth. "I'm sure Melody's just looking out for her brothers," I added, smiling wider. The hellspawn refused to show weakness, settling on a rebellious death glare that I could have sworn felt physical, like laser death rays would scorch my eyes out any second. Melody shot a glance at her mother, who was waiting patiently, before throwing her head back and marching back into the house. Sunny sighed, watching her daughter disappear down the hall in a pink huff. "I apologize," she said, ushering me inside. I stepped in hesitantly, half expecting an ambush of killer kids. "As you can probably tell, my children are gifted." I slipped out of my shoes, aware of Kazaria in the corner of my eye glaring at me. The house was beautiful, warm, and homely. The smell of chili drifted in from the kitchen, while the modern, minimalistic decor eased the knot in my stomach. Sunny led me down a hallway where a staircase curved upstairs, the wall lined with framed photos of the kids all the way up. Sunny, of course, continued her gifted children rant as she led the tour. "Melody and Kazaria both exhibit remarkable intelligence," she went on, her voice carrying an almost narcissistic smugness. "They're already at an advanced reading level." I rolled my eyes. Of course these kids were baby geniuses. "They're very different to other children. I would almost say that they're child prodigies. Melody is on track for the Pulitzer Prize, while Kazaria's art is displayed in the town gallery." Sunny nudged me towards the staircase. "The downstairs bathroom is out of bounds." She switched back to professional. "If the children need the bathroom, you will accompany them. If they protest, they lose screen time." Ouch. Admiring the hallway's paint job, a bright sunny yellow, I noticed among the photos of the younger kids an older brunette boy, a teenager scowling in a private school uniform. He was the spitting image of his younger brother, sitting cross-legged on his bed, arms folded. I turned to Sunny. "Do you have older children?" Her gaze flicked briefly to the photo. "Oh, that's my eldest son," she said, her tone softening. "I lost him a few years ago." Something in my gut tightened. I was half watching Kazaria trying to act subtle, hiding behind his mother. He caught my eye, sticking out his tongue. "I'm so sorry for your loss," I said. Instead of showering Mrs. Hawthorne in sympathy, though, I tried a lighter tone. "I don't think he liked being on camera," I laughed. "Was he always like that?" Sunny's expression lit up, like she was glad that I had asked. "He was always pulling that face," she chuckled. The way she stared longingly at her dead son choked me up. Kazaria was tugging at my dress, and I subtly thwacked his fists away. His mother traced her fingers over the frame hesitantly. "You can't see it, but I asked him specifically to pose in that exact spot. There's a chocolate cupcake behind him." She winked at me. 18 years old, and the only time he would go near a camera with his siblings was through bribery. Her smile soured slightly. Well, then of course he started college and he threw it all away. I found myself entranced by the boy in the photo, the words slipping out before I could stop them. How did your son die? Suddenly, it felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. Her expression darkened and she turned away from the photo. Sienna, from the moment you came inside my house, you made an unspoken promise to care for and respect my children. Sonny pulled the photo off the wall with a violent tug before turning back to me. I would appreciate you staying out of my family's business. She paused and I could see vulnerability beneath her carefully made up facade. Mrs. Hawthorne was slowly cracking. My son died from an overdose, she said, her voice unwavering and eerily sterile. While he was extremely gifted like his siblings, my son was also a deeply damaged boy who chose to prioritize his social life over education. He did not ask for help and died peacefully at home with his mother and siblings by his side. When I couldn't find my words, she gestured me towards the living room. Shall we continue the tour, or would you like his name too? Kazaria grumbled something under his breath, and I shot him a look. I'm sorry, ma'am, I said, pushing my voice to sound sincere. Sonny shrugged. You're not the first and certainly won't be the last to ask questions. Her lips curved into a condescending smile. I appreciate your apology. I'll chalk this up to a simple misunderstanding. I'm sure you, unlike my children, were raised by a mother who didn't care to teach you basic manners. Excuse me? I couldn't swallow my squeak. Mrs. Hawthorne turned her attention to her son, bending down to ruffle his hair. Kazaria pushed her away, narrowing his eyes at me. It's a learning curve, Sienna, she finished, moving back down the hallway. Why don't we go meet my third and final child? Kazaria shot me the side eye, letting out a quiet huff, his eyes staring daggers at his mother. Well, what do you know? We had a mutual enemy. Sienna, Mrs. Hawthorne snapped, hurrying me along. Today, please. I followed her into the dining room where Melody sat on the carpet with a book. The room was charming and bright, fairy lights decorating the wall, gossamer curtains and bay windows behind a couch sitting in front of the TV, a dining table on the other side. Another small boy sat at the table with his knees drawn to his chest, head inclined, mouth slightly open. He reminded me of a cherub, bright blue eyes framed by a mop of golden curls. It took me a moment to realize his vacant stare was stuck to the TV, which wasn't actually on. Stevie, what did I tell you about slouching? Sonny gently sat him up. I didn't like the way that his head moved, his flickering eyes never leaving the black screen. She shook him and the boy snapped out of it, his eyes lazily rolling to me before almost popping out of his head. He jerked to a sitting position. Holy God, the little boy blinked rapidly at me. Who is she? Next to me, Kazaria burst into giggles, and I had to bite down on my lower lip. Melody, hiding behind her upside-down book, let out a snort, her shoulders shaking. A scarlet blush flooded Mrs. Hawthorne's cheeks. Stevie, she spoke calmly, maintaining her perfect smile. What did we talk about? Stevie groaned, tipping his head back. Kazaria, who dived onto the couch next to him, giggled. Think before I speak. Mrs. Hawthorne's expression hardened. Think before I speak what? The boy buried his head in his knees, grumbling. Think before I speak, Mommy. Mrs. Hawthorne straightened up, turning her attention to me. Stevie has what we call a photographic memory for vocabulary. He picks up anything that he hears and can mimic it. Her smile curdled. That, of course, includes inappropriate things. She didn't give me a chance to respond, and I was still struggling to come to terms with a 5-year-old cursing like a teenager. Alright, that concludes the tour. I think that's everything. She turned to the kids who were strangely quiet, sandwiched together on the sofa. Mrs. Hawthorne pecked each of them goodbye. Kazaria tried to bat her away, but she was ready for him, pulling him into a squeeze. From his frantic eyes, he clearly didn't enjoy it or the peppering of kisses on his forehead. Melody seemed to share the sentiment, pretending to gag. Stevie stuck his head between his knees, avoiding her attempt at goodbye kisses. Their body language was hard to ignore. These children despised their own mother. Why, I wondered, the question haunting the back of my mind. My thoughts snapped back to the photo of her dead son. Mrs. Hawthorne was undeniably controlling. Maybe the three of them secretly hated her for pushing their older brother to the point of overdose. "Goodbye, darlings," their mother murmured, and the kids, like puppets on strings, nodded with wide smiles. "I'll be back tomorrow morning, all right." "Okay, Mommy," all three chorused. Melody's grin faltered slightly, and Kazaria subtly elbowed her, his own widening. When she had gone, they dropped the act. Melody swiped at her lips, and Kazaria screwed up his face. "Blurg!" He stuck out his tongue, wiping his hands on Melody. "She always kisses with wet lips." I avoided her. Stevie shot him a grin, and his brother shoved him. "Yeah, because you're her least favorite." Melody grabbed a cushion and thwacked him in the face, giggling. Kazaria scowled, hitting her back, which is a good thing. Stevie was hit in the face and started screaming. "Oh, you're so annoying." Kazaria hit him again. "I barely touched you." Stevie picked up the TV remote to bludgeon his brother, and I snatched it off him before I could witness him commit a felony. "Stay here," I told the three of them, and to their credit, they did actually stop hitting each other. I switched on the TV and played Bluey. The three of them started trying to kill each other halfway through the first episode, and so began my babysitting job from hell. After witnessing him unable to sit still for more than a second, I had already mentally diagnosed Kazaria with ADHD. He could barely focus on the TV, trying to hit Stevie over the head with it. His eyes were constantly flitting from one thing to another, and he got angry easily. Melody thrived on attention, pretending to throw up the tiniest amount of saliva and declare that she was sick. Stevie was objectively the only normal one, though his obsession with trying to murder his brother was concerning. While Kazaria was playful with his hits, Stevie was actively trying to hurt him. I had to suggest they build a fort so I could child-proof the house after they started fighting. And dinner time was challenging. All three refused to eat, surprise, surprise. These kids may have been Satan's offspring, but the food provided was lukewarm chili. Nausea curled in my gut, watching it drip from the spoon in a splodgy lump. Kazaria said what we were all thinking. "I'm not eating that," he announced, running into the living room. Melody immediately turned up her nose at her plate and demanded actual food. I tried everything. She hated spaghetti, mac and cheese, even Pop-Tarts, throwing a fit. She followed me around, hands on hips. "I want sushi," the little girl demanded. "California rolls with spicy mayo." She propped herself up on the counter while I was making pancakes for Stevie. "Make me sushi." The heat from the oven was overbearing. I was sweating, my ears ringing, my cheeks burning. "I can't make that for you, Melody," I hissed, scanning the cupboards for flour. "Why not?" "Melody." I slipped on one of her books, falling. Stevie, from his place at the table, giggled. "I want California rolls with spicy mayo." Melody screamed while I ran back and forth between the refrigerator and the cooktop, trying to make the pancakes. She drummed her hands on the cupboards, pushed chairs over, even got Stevie, who was mostly confused, to join in. "We want California rolls." "Oh, so it's we now." I turned to the scarlet-faced brat, suppressing the deep urge to scream in her face. "Hey, sweetie," I crouched in front of her. "We don't have California rolls." I squeezed her shoulders. "Do you want me to make you something similar?" When her expression softened, I knew that I had her. "Why don't I make you vegetarian sushi?" "Hey, lady," Kazaria shouted from the living room. "Why don't you just order it?" Melody, now fully supporting her brother, nodded smugly. I couldn't resist spitting out, "Thanks, kid." I wasn't expecting a response. "Welcome." California rolls. Melody held out her hand like I was a wizard who could magically vomit out ready-made sushi. "Now." Stevie blinked at me in terror, catapulting pancakes in my face. He didn't like Nutella. I tried to remove the chocolate and he collapsed into sobs, saying that I ruined them. Melody continued her sushi tirade until I threatened her with bedtime. Instead, she summoned crocodile tears and accepted veggie rolls, before promptly dumping them in the trash and retiring to the couch. Kazaria, meanwhile, was doing who knows what in the living room. By the time that 9 p.m. came around, I was mentally exhausted. They weren't sleepy, of course they were hyper. I found myself in the kitchen around 10 trying to make myself coffee when a crash sounded from upstairs. Kaz. I was already on a nickname basis with him. He was going to give me an aneurysm. Within 2 hours, he had knocked down a bookcase and drew a very crude drawing on the wall. When I asked where he had learned it, he threw the pen at me. Middle school idiot." Kaz mimicked my voice before performing a clumsy cartwheel, head first into the stone fireplace. Melody squealed, hiding behind her book. Stevie, for reasons unknown, grabbed the remote. To my surprise, the hellspawn didn't erupt into a fit. Instead, Kaz lay there, his feet still in the air, while my heart was racing. "Hey, lady," he mumbled when I helped him sit up. I checked his head for a concussion, but he seemed fine. Kaz blinked up at me, and for the first time I saw real pain in his eyes. "My brain hurts." I wrapped my arms around him, surprised by my own affection. He tried to pull away, squirming, but I held him tighter. "It's okay. That's not your brain that's hurting." I playfully bopped him on the head. "That's your head, Kaz." "No, I'm pretty sure it's my brain," he grumbled. I pulled away. "Why don't you sit down and rest?" He opened his mouth to respond, glancing at the others. Stevie and Melody were standing together, wide-eyed. Kaz shifted uncomfortably, his gaze dropping to the floor. "I need to tell you something." "Oh," I squeezed his shoulder, expecting a mess that he was yet to reveal, pre-head smash. "What is it, sweetie?" "Kaz?" Melody's tone was suddenly terrifyingly cold, just like her mother's. Stevie nodded in silent agreement, shaking his head in one single jerk. I noticed the silent communication between them. Kaz's eyes narrowed, scrunching up his nose. Stevie glared at him, his lip curling. Melody stamped her foot in finality. "All right," I folded my arms. I figured I had gained their respect by the way the three of them suddenly looked incredibly guilty. "What did you do?" Kaz rolled his eyes, sticking out his tongue at them before turning to me. "Never mind," he exclaimed, crossing his arms and turning away. Later, Stevie and Melody were fast asleep on the couch. They were so cute when they weren't conscious. I was hovering over them, trying to think of the best way to scoop them up and take them to bed when a scream had startled me. Kaz. Running upstairs and bursting in, I found the boys sitting in a dry tub. "Kaz!" I grabbed him, yanking him up. "Go away!" the boy shrieked, trembling. Red drops splattering the porcelain tub sent my heartbeat into overdrive. Dropping down beside him, I searched frantically for cuts, but I found nothing. "Kaz, why are you bleeding? Can you show me?" "No," he whined, lurching toward the toilet. "Just let me, my head hurts," he whispered, panting, his sharp breaths breaking into sobs. "My brain is too big." I sighed, relieved when I found no cuts or bruises. Gently, I pushed him away from the toilet. "Why don't I put you back to bed?" I handed him a toothbrush and he threw it in my face. "Screw you," he grumbled, sticking his pinky in his ear. "My brain hurts." "So does mine," I couldn't resist, snapping back. "It's called a headache." When I helped him stand up, he tumbled out of the bathtub and dived into his mother's room, slamming the door. I tried the handle. Locked. "Kaz," I knocked. I was slowly losing my cool. "Open the door, I just want to make sure you're okay, and then you can have as many tantrums as you want." "Go away." The door slammed into me like a wave of ice water. Adult. I ran downstairs, but I couldn't remember where my phone was. I grabbed a knife instead, bounding back up the stairs, and I forced the door open. There on his knees, panting, was a grown man. For a moment, I was paralyzed. I opened my mouth to scream his name when the man doubled over, a screech ripping from his lips. The man sobbed as he doubled over, spitting blood. "I can't find it." He pawed blindly across the floor. "I can't find it." He turned to me, blinking wildly, eyes half-focused, blood pouring from his nose. "Please," he whimpered, his voice collapsing into a gut-churning wail as he jerked violently. "You've got to help me." Something came apart inside me when I realized what he meant. A vicious, agonizing dread beginning to take over me. I tried taking a shaky step back, but I couldn't move. His skin undulated like a snake, rippling up and down his spine. A fleshy lump of pink slid out of his ear, bleeding down the back of his neck. His brain was too big. The man groaned, burying his head in his arms. "My name's Kaz Hawthorne, and I'm 23, he said, coughing up a mouthful of blood onto the carpet before collapsing to his knees. "That psycho witch," he spat, swiping at the pinkish froth of his chin. His brain was leaking out of his ears, I thought dizzily. His eyes were wild, desperate, and hauntingly familiar. Slowly he staggered to his feet, arms windmilling like a child's, and I found myself scrambling back, shaking my head. "She keeps turning me into a kid, and I can't find my doll." He stumbled closer, and the realization sunk in. The photo. "You're him," I choked out. He surprised me with a grin, childlike even when he didn't mean it to be. "Mommy said we failed, so we needed to start again." He dropped onto his knees, crawling under the bed. "Where's my doll?" "Doll?" I whispered. Kaz nodded, tearing Mrs. Hawthorne's room apart. "Mom's dollhouse, we need to find it." My brain was already whirring. Start again, I thought. From birth. Without thinking, I grabbed a tissue and I gagged, wiping pinkish sticky ooze from my face. "Slow down, what do you mean?" His eyes were scaring me, rolling back and forth like he was fighting to stay awake. I winced at the sludge running from his ear. "Your mom did this to you because you didn't live up to her expectations." He didn't respond, holding up a phone. My phone. "I've got your phone." His voice slurred and he tipped sideways. "Whoa." I steadied him. "Stay still." Kaz's eyes were hollow, vacant, and wrong like they didn't belong. "I need to call my fiancée and tell her." He choked on a sob, tapping the screen. I don't know, I just need to. I need to see her. She thinks that I OD'd." He grabbed me just like a kid, his nails digging into my wrists. "I'm 23, he whispered, as if trying to convince not just me but himself. He finally let go, attempting to dart away, but his body gave up. When the man hit the ground, I grabbed a blanket and I threw it over him. "I can't move, Sienna," he whispered. "I need to get out of this house. I can't breathe. She's always there, suffocating me. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. She's going to kill me." "Hey, idiot." Another adult voice startled me. Twisting around, a looming man with thick blonde hair stood, his eyes narrowed at Kaz. "I told you." Stevie. Acid filled my mouth. Mrs. Hawthorne had turned her adult children into babies. "Oh, screw off," Kaz grumbled in response to his brother. "Where's the doll?" "Hell if I know," Stevie grumbled, "probably under lock and key." Stevie's eyes flashed to me. "He needs a doctor," he said. He helped me pull Kaz to his feet. "Can you get us out of here?" I bit back a harsher retort. "You're an adult too." "Obviously." So the photographic vocabulary, he cut me off, was crap. He mimed an explosion. Shocker. The two of us hauled Kaz from his room and halfway down the stairs. Stevie stayed close to me, his breath in my ear. "We go straight out the front door," he whispered. "Do you have a car, Sienna?" I froze, dazed. Kaz awkwardly sprawled over my shoulders, and I remembered. "What about your sister?" "I'm coming too." Another voice sounded from downstairs. A small girl appeared in her early 20s, dressed in jeans and a tee, with the exact same nagging tone of a certain 5-year-old. Melody Hawthorne threw a bundle of clothes at her brothers, rolling her eyes. "Get dressed. You two look like unfinished Ken dolls. I told you to wait until tonight." Her eyes widened when she saw blood smeared down Kaz's face. She lunged forward, bursting into tears, her child self bleeding back into her eyes. "Is Kaz okay?" She helped us carry him downstairs, sobbing the whole time. "Stay here," I told the three of them. "I'm going to get the car, okay?" When their eyes widened, I hugged each of them. Even as adults, I was undeniably attached to these little brats. "You can't just walk out of the house as adults," I told them. "I'll give a signal and one by one, you'll follow me to the car." Melody nodded, though Stevie looked sickly. "But the evil witch is watching." Kaz mumbled into my shoulder. "You're not listening to me. We need to find those dolls and rip off their heads." "Stay here," I reiterated. "Don't move." I opened the doorway slowly and darted down the driveway. The night air was cool, a relief on my flushed skin. I froze mid-run when I realized that my car was gone. I darted back to the house, my stomach lurching. Before I could turn around, the Hawthorne door slammed shut. I turned the handle. Locked. "Kids, open the door." "Sienna," Stevie shrieked. "We didn't lock it." He paused, his voice collapsing into a sob. "I think Kaz is dying." His cry was an agonizing wail, both child and adult. So unnatural, so monstrous. I lost my breath. "Stevie," I hissed. "Stevie, is he breathing?" "I don't know," he sobbed. "There's so much blood, I can't stop it. Sienna, we need to call an ambulance." I knocked again, but my fist hit paper. The paper door, part of the paper house. The Hawthorne siblings' screams dulled to a low murmur. I stepped back, my stomach twisting. The Hawthorne home was no longer made of brick and cedar, but of pieces of paper, intricately folded and shaped, as if by the hands of an artist. Slowly the home itself began to collapse, the concrete underneath me bleeding into cardboard. I staggered backward, landing on the lawn, on every blade of grass becoming paper. Scurrying back, the slow stream of paper like a virus was catching up to me. Lifting my head, the Hawthorne home was a single piece of paper. The paper door on the paper house where the paper dolls lived. Something sharp pricked the back of my neck. Like ice-cold water rushing into my bloodstream, my body sagged forward. My vision blurred. My lips parted, but no sound came out. "Sienna!" Melody screamed from somewhere within the paper. The pounding on the paper door echoing, bouncing inside my skull. "Sienna, what's going on?" I wanted to answer her. I wanted to help Kaz, who was dying, Stevie, who was sobbing, half adult, half child, but so tired. Besides, weren't they just paper? I awoke 3 times. The first time I came to, I was slumped on Mrs. Hawthorne's shoulder. The world was swinging left to right, left to right. The second time I was lying on my back on concrete, staring at bloody markings, like ruins scratched into the ceiling of a dilapidated room. Mrs. Hawthorne's basement. A growing shadow bled over me. Mrs. Hawthorne. In her hands, a frantic ball of fur held by the neck. Some kind of animal. I only had to see the knife to know what was going to happen. I squeezed my eyes shut, the sharp screech of the animal collapsing into gurgles. Warm red droplets hit my cheeks at first like rain, and I could imagine for just a moment that I was with Imogen again, riding our bikes in the summer rain as it drenched our clothes, kissing her and deciding that she smelled like summer rain. A raw shriek tore from my throat, agonizing, strong enough to send my body into an arc. When it came fast, boiling hot blood drowning me and scalding my skin. Mrs. Hawthorne stepped closer and my vision blurred. In her scarlet slick hands, a tiny paper doll. It has my eyes, I thought dizzily, and my mouth, my lips still parted, still screaming. The third time, I awoke groggy to fairy lights, pretty lights, blue and yellow, and the other color I couldn't grasp. Weird. It felt like I was upside down, my eyes dizzy, my thoughts plastic. I didn't notice how huge the Hawthorne living room was until I was lying on my back. So many weird corners and edges to the ceiling. Bright light filtered through the windows, and I found myself calling it pretty. A knock at the door sent me into a sitting position. Across the room, young Kaz sat alone, cross-legged and frowning at me. His siblings were nowhere to be seen. "It's all my fault," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." When I tried to speak, he turned away and I could see the skin of his cheek torn and taped up. Paper. I jumped up, but my legs felt weird. I started toward him, but he shook his head. "Don't come near me." "Hello?" A voice slammed into my ears, and I followed a long stretch of bleeding light that collapsed into something so bright that I had to cover my eyes. I heard voices whispering in the doorway. A towering figure loomed over me, grinning, a giant man whose gaze suddenly found me. "Ah." He scooped me into his arms, swinging me around like a toy. "Hello, Sienna." He chuckled as a gasp parted my lips. "I'm Sam. I'm gonna be your new babysitter." Damon McCory, Rain, Big Country Allen, Nelson Asada, Die Screaming, Meat Gasher, Malcolm Black, Dalla Magara, Justin Fotenauer, That One Woodsman, Die Can't Play, Dino, Deggy, MP Massacre 91, Leon Knott, SWAT, Kathy McGuire, Jimmy Griffin, Miss Eldridge, Dragon Slayer 048, Takio Zarilla, Sanjay Anthem, Sleepy Shroomy, Mark Norman, Minaling Kidder, Richard French, yours truly, Omni Rubix, Sonic GMT, Wayward Son, Caleb Wins are never enough. Russell and Flo, Stevie B7649, Ray Weingartner, Stephen King 04, Shrimpo the Shrimp, Genevieve Sweet, Lone Wolf Sam, Ivory Sage, Lunas TV, I Am Loki 5849, Chicago Born and Bred, Paige Martin, Jacob Barlett, Deuce, Chris Lalo,